was diagnosed with depression when I was just 14. Living with depression felt like carrying a ticking time bomb inside me. With every passing second, the clock hands moved closer to 0. And when it hit that point, darkness consumed everything, swallowing me whole, making it seem impossible to find a way out. When I was 17, my self-esteem had sunk so low that I barely felt any worth.
I hated myself.
I felt unbearably alone. School was already stressful, but what made it unbearable was that even at school, I felt better than I did at home. My parents were very traditional. In our house, everything had to be perfect, and chores had to be done every day. If I failed to meet their expectations, I would be scolded, criticized, and made to feel like a failure. I lived in constant fear of never being good enough in their eyes.
Afraid to grow up.
As I entered my final year of high school, my fear grew. I dreaded turning 18. I didn't want to grow up because I believed it meant more expectations, more pressure, and more disappointment. I even wished my parents would forget my birthday, but they didn't. The stressful senior year finally passed, and I achieved my goal of graduating. But the problem didn't end there. I was still living under my parents' roof, still bound by their strict rules, still criticized for every mistake, no matter how small. A silenced voice. One evening, I gathered all my courage to talk to my father. I had never dared to do this before, because every time I shared my feelings, I ended up feeling worse than before. But this time, I was determined to speak up. Gently, I asked my parents to be kinder to me, to give me some space to breathe. But nothing changed. They didn't want to listen. They continued to impose their heavy expectations on me. I completely broke down. For the first time in my life, I didn't just feel emotional pain, I felt it physically. I couldn't breathe properly. I cried uncontrollably, and I felt as if my entire body was being crushed under an invisible weight. That night, my therapist had me admitted to the hospital. I stayed there for 10 days. Those 10 days felt like a quiet pause in the middle of a storm. I began to look at myself differently, to rediscover my own worth, to understand that I had the right to choose my own life. But when I was discharged, I wasn't ready to go home. I knew that if I went back immediately, everything would just start all over again. I wasn't strong enough to face it yet. So, I made a decision I never thought I could. I chose a different path. I arranged to stay with my best friend, a place where I could breathe more freely, where I could continue my healing journey without being suffocated by family pressure. Here, I am rebuilding myself day by day. I am preparing for the moment when I return, not to endure, but to face life with newfound strength. Facing challenges. I am ready. Depression is a part of my life, but it does not define who I am. My life may be full of challenges, but I embrace them. I know the road ahead is still difficult, but this time, I am not running away. I have learned my worth. I have learned to rise after every fall. I am ready. Bring on the challenges. I will face them all.